we don't have hope, that's when it gets scary.
Oh, my goodness, that is so true. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, right, if Jesus is our hope, if he is the ultimate healer, how in the world do you counsel somebody who doesn't know Jesus? Like, it just seems like you can throw a bunch of platitudes at them instead of like the truth. That's got to make it counseling or therapy hard.
I love that question because I think that's a deep sorrow inside of me. I started to feel like when we don't have hope, that's when it gets scary.
Oh, my goodness, that is so true.
And so and Lord help me, how do I help people connect to hope when he is our only hope? So
I mean, that's why people come to counseling in the first place, right? They lose hope in what? I don't know, life,
they're
their
pretty
job.
close to, yeah, I would say, when we lose hope, that's when we want to escape, and that can look like suicide. It can look like drinking, drugs, sex, shopping. That's when we want to escape because we don't have any hope, and it's painful to feel that. So I feel like I could understand a time when I thought I was a Christian, and I was clinging to things to give me hope or to give me freedom from the pain I was feeling that was not everlasting. It just got me through the next feeling, and thank goodness for that. Is that right? Is that real hope? No, but it helped me survive, and the Lord had me, through that. So I feel like I look at these people, other people that haven't quite found the hope that I found, and I hope to be like faith for them, and I just hope and pray that they will find that real hope. But that, when you ask that question, that's when it was like, oh, Lord, how do I like really lead people to the well of living water? How do I, but there is a journey to get there, shorter or long,
You said, some of the bad things we do in life, they kind of help get us through things, right? And I think it's true. I just remember this story of a guy I knew, a friend of mine, old friend, who's a Christian, and talking about getting out of the bonds of pornography. And he wrote a letter.
Ooh.
He wrote a letter to himself.
Wow.
It was actually a letter to pornography, thanking pornography for getting him through all those things, all those tough times. But then at the end, he's like, but I don't need you anymore. I don't want you anymore.
Yeah.
And by God's grace, I'll never have this a part of my life
That
anymore.
Is so powerful.
And it was the first time I had heard somebody talk about how an addiction actually did help them through some tough times. And it's odd to think about addiction that way as an addiction specialist, right? I mean, we're addicted for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We drink and get wasted and do drugs or look at pornography or seek sex, or we seek pleasures for a reason. We're trying to fill an empty hole somewhere in our heart. But in an odd way, in a weird way, those things do help in certain times, but they're so destructive, right?
Yeah. They're so destructive. And so it's hard to say it helped. And God allows it. And how do we wrap around our minds around that? But it helps people survive. And I love that story, and I've heard that story in many other things, like an eating disorder or just anything, I can look back at my life and be thankful for all the crazy things that I have been through. And I can be in a session with somebody who's going through, and this has happened many times, going through something fairly similar. And I am thanking the Lord that I have a reference. Like, oh, I can give them hope. Like, gosh, even a mom and dad who have a teenager that's out of control, and would I ever thought I'd be where I am? And not saying their life is, but there is hope. And so if that's the only hope I can give is say, hey, get to the next day. And sometimes, people have this negative view of self-love or whatever. Gosh, in some of my situations, like that's the only thing somebody has. And it's not about what's the word? Like selfishness. Most of these people have learned to self-diminish. The only time they feel any connection is to diminish themselves so the other person that is giving them love will get filled up. So sometimes the only hope somebody has is what they have within themselves, and I pray that in that deep dive they find God there.